Good evening and good afternoon. I'm Mitch Braff, the founder of JPEF, the Jewish Partisan Educational Foundation, and I'm honored to be part of tonight's HaShoah V'HaGevurah program. For those of you new to our work, we teach the history and the life lessons of the approximately 30,000 Jews who fought as armed resistance fighters or partisans during World War II. Tens of thousands of educators around the world use our innovative and free educational materials, impacting millions of young people each year. Nearly every major Holocaust organization in the world also uses our resources. Tonight, we are celebrating our 21st year. It is now my pleasure to introduce JPEF's board president, Elliot Felsen.
Thank you, Mitch. It's an honor to be here tonight as we remember those we lost during the Shoah and pay tribute to the resilience of the Jewish partisans who fought back against the Nazis and their collaborators. Many of these partisans were teenagers like my father and my uncle of blessed memory, who escaped from camps, ghettos, and killing fields. These partisan brigades were active in at least 10 European countries from Greece and Italy to Poland and Belarus. In the 1950s, the State of Israel established Yom HaShoah V'HaGevurah as a day dedicated to honoring the memories of the 6 million Jews who were murdered. It is also a day to honor those who fought back. Rather than choosing a date that coincided with a particular massacre or ghetto liquidation, Israel chose a date that represented Jewish resistance, the 27th of Nisan, the start of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the most seminal act of Jewish armed resistance during the Holocaust. This commemoration represents two aspects of the Holocaust: the darkness of loss, the Shoah, and the corresponding strength and heroism of all those who resisted in every possible way, the Gevurah. When we were together at last year's Yom HaShoah V'HaGevurah commemoration, we were just beginning to know what it felt like to live in a world physically isolated from our family and friends, one marked by the fear of contracting a deadly disease and marred by increasing anti-Semitism and racism. But together we looked forward towards the inspiration of the Jewish partisans. We persevered. We learned to use Zoom. We became experts at it, in fact. We performed acts of loving kindness, gemilut chasadim, and we donated to those disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Together, we made an important difference in the lives of others. Today, we are beginning to see a light at the end of the tunnel, at the end of what has been a very difficult and challenging time. I hope that we will all remember how, in the spirit of the Jewish partisans, we all came together, and that we continue to carry forward these important lessons of tikkun olam, tolerance, resilience, and hope for the future. I'm very proud of the tremendous work that JPEF has done during the pandemic and how we have been able to support the educators and students who rely on our resources, and of course, our many partner organizations. Now, I'd like to share some of those accomplishments with you.
A year ago, the world was turned upside down. The pandemic changed all our lives, including the work at the Jewish Partisan Educational Foundation. JPEF had entered 2020 with ambitious plans, including many in-person teacher trainings throughout the country. The organization's highly regarded photography exhibit was on display in Florida and was soon headed to Missouri. Film screenings and community presentations were planned as well. 2020 was going to be a big year. As the world found itself in the midst of the pandemic, JPEF postponed its programs as everyone sheltered in place. The organization pivoted. 2 weeks later, the JPEF team hosted its first virtual professional development workshop for over 100 teachers. This was only the beginning. In the last 12 months, JPEF has reached over 1,500 teachers in the US, Canada, Israel, Germany, Italy, Poland, and the United Kingdom through 26 separate virtual teacher trainings. And because students were now learning remotely, JPEF can now visit classrooms to teach the Jewish partisans directly, including some overseas. It is estimated that over 1.1 million students were impacted in 2020 by their work. With the rise in anti-Semitism and racism in the U.S., the demand for JPEF's materials has never been higher, and the organization continues to find innovative ways to respond. Later this year, a new study guide on becoming an upstander and a new lesson plan on social justice will be released. JPEF is bringing the history and life lessons of the Jewish partisans to more people than ever before.
In the Jewish tradition, we gather together on this anniversary of a loved one's death to light a yahrzeit candle commemorating their passing. Between 1938 and 1945, 6 million Jews were systematically rounded up, starved, tortured, worked to death, and gassed. These were sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles. Many of them were the parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents of those of us here today. Tonight, it is a tremendous honor to have 7 Jewish partisans with us to light 6 candles in memory of the 6 million Jews and 6 million non-Jews who perished during the Holocaust. Joining us tonight from Florida are Jewish partisans Sarah and Charles Bedzo and Judith Ginsburg. From Memphis, Tennessee, Ted Weinstone. From New York, Alex Folkman and Rose Holm. And from Toronto, Canada, Faye Schulman. As we light the candles, we hold in our hearts those partisans in our community who we lost since last Yom HaShoah. We remember Leon Bask, Murray Gordon, Bella Goldfisher, Joseph Pell, and Marta Petrasek. May their memories be a blessing.
Hi, my name is Alana Berger Moody. I'm 16 years old and I go to Bishop O'Dowd High School in Oakland, California. Sarah Golchman Bedzo grew up in Leopoldov, Poland. In 1939, Germans invaded, forcing her family into the ghetto, where at age 13, Sarah was forced to perform hard labor. Her entire family was murdered in 1942, when the ghetto was liquidated. Luckily, she managed to escape. Sarah joined the Glover Partisan Brigade, where she cooked and guarded the camp until the group was liberated by the Russian army in the summer of 1944. Charles Bedzo, born Hanan Bedzowski, was barely a teenager when his family was forced to move to the Lida ghetto, now present-day Belarus. Family friends of the famed Bielski Brigade, Tuvia Bielski himself, sent a partisan to help them escape and bring them to their camp. There, at 17 years old, Charles sabotaged German communication and transportation lines, acted as a scout, and participated in the ambushes of German soldiers. At the end of the war, Sarah and Charles had a chance meeting in Lodz, Poland, and fell in love. Together they made the 2,000-mile journey by foot to Turin, Italy, where they were married in 1946. Tonight, Sarah and Charles light the first candle for those Jewish partisans who lost their lives fighting back against the Nazis and their collaborators, among them Charles' younger sister, Sonia.
Sarah Bedzo. Charles Bedzo.
Hi, my name is Eliana Goldfarb. I'm 16 years old and I go to Lick Wilmerding High School in San Francisco, California. Alex Folkman was 17 years old in September 1939 when the Nazis invaded his hometown of Tylaj, Poland. On Yom Kippur 1941, Alex and his younger brother escaped to Slovakia, hoping they would be safe. Alex's brother was later killed, and Alex then joined a large Russian partisan group operating out of the Carpathian Mountains to survive. Fluent in 7 languages, Alex became the chief interrogator of captured prisoners and went on numerous reconnaissance missions. He was instrumental in the February 12, 1945 battle with the German army on the Slovakian front. Tonight, Alex lights the second candle for the untold millions for whom there is no one to mourn, whose entire families were annihilated and who lie in unmarked graves.
I'm Alex Folkman.
In In May 1942, as the remaining Jews of the Lida ghetto, formerly Belarus, were marched to the trains bound for the Polish Majdanek concentration camp, 17-year-old Judith Ginsburg escaped capture by running into the woods and hiding. Aided by a non-Jewish Polish man, Judith was taken to the Rachinsky Partisans, a unit composed of former Russian paratroopers, where she served as a combatant. Judith eventually joined the all-Jewish Bielski Brigade, where she remained until liberation. Returning to Lida, the sole survivor of her family, Judith met and married fellow Jewish partisan Motke Ginsburg. Tonight, Judith lights the third candle for those, like the Polish man who led her to safety of the partisans, who stood upright while others were bending to an immoral will, the righteous among the nations.
I'm Judith Ginsburg.
Rose Duman Holm was born near Zolice, Poland. Her boyfriend, Joe Holm, was an active member of the Grunspan partisan unit. In 1942, when women were allowed to join, he convinced Rose to join him. Rose and Joe carried out dozens of missions together, including sabotaging German trains with grenades. Once, when traveling with a Polish general into the forest, their group was ambushed. Joe and Rose ran through the gunfire and managed to deliver the general safely to the camp. Later, Rose found bullet holes through her sweater, a testament to their narrow escape. Rose and Joe stayed with the Grunspan unit for over 3 years. After the war, Rose and Joe were married. Tonight, Rose lights the fourth candle for the 1.5 million Jewish children whose hopes and dreams were destroyed before they even had a chance to live.
I'm Rose Holm.
As a young woman in Lenin, Poland, Faye Schulman fell in love with her brother's photography business. When the Germans occupied Lenin, they murdered all the Jews in the ghetto, including Faye's entire family. She was saved to document their atrocities and forced to develop the photographs of the massacre. She soon escaped to the forest and joined the Molotova Brigade, an all-male Russian partisan group. There she served as a medic, as well as taking hundreds of photographs, developing the negatives under blankets and making prints by campfire light. Internationally recognized, Faye is the only known Jewish partisan photographer. Tonight, Faye lights the fifth candle for the more than 30,000 Jews who fought back in armed resistance as Jewish partisans, saving thousands of lives and ensuring a future for the Jewish people.
My name is Faye Schulman.
Ted Weinstein, born Moshe Tuvia Weinstein, was 12 years old in 1941 when the Germans invaded his small town of Baranowicz, Poland, in what is now present-day Belarus. Imprisoned in a hard labor camp, he eventually escaped an SS massacre by sneaking over the front lines into Russia. There, he spent nearly 2 years with several different partisan units, performing guard duty and going on ambushes. In 1947, Ted immigrated to New York and served in the United States Marine Corps during the Korean War. Tonight, Ted lights this final candle for those who even now live under the yoke of oppression, in places where the threat of genocide is real and ever-present.
I'm Ted Weinstein.
I invite you, if you are able, to please rise for the El Malei Rachamim prayer. El Malei Rachamim Shochen B'Meromim Hamitzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah B'Malot Kedoshim U'Torim Kizoar Arakia Mazhirim Et Nishmo
ילכו בשלום על משכבם ונאמר Amen.
Thank you, Cantor Shira Ginsburg, the cantor of East End Temple in New York, and the granddaughter of Jewish partisans, Judith and Matka Ginsburg, for that beautiful chanting of Amal Rachamim. I feel so fortunate to be in the presence of these 7 survivors tonight. Each of them has demonstrated tremendous determination and resilience, building vital lives for themselves, making important impacts in their communities, and raising vibrant Jewish families. Together, they did their part to ensure Am Yisrael Chai. From among them, they produced 19 children, 56 grandchildren, and 52 great-grandchildren. It is each of these generations and all the generations that follow who will keep their legacies alive, who will share their stories of loss, of resistance, of survival, and of redemption. It is now my honor to introduce Charlie Bleichman, the son of Jewish partisans Chesha and Frank Bleichman, of blessed memory.
Passing of the Legacy, a poem by Helsi Lieberman. We, the living survivors, entrust the legacy of the Shoah to you, the second generation, and thereafter to all generations. We want you to vow that the sacred memory of our suffering and our martyrdom shall never be scorned or erased. We want you to recall the heroism of Jewish resistance. Remember the shining examples of sacrifice and kindness from the righteous Gentiles. Remember the racial prejudice and discrimination which led to the Holocaust. By not forgetting, you will pay tribute to those who were destroyed. By not forgetting, you will ensure for those who live and those who are yet to be born that we intend never to allow such an insanity to happen again. This is the heritage we, the survivors, entrust to your custody for safekeeping for all generations to come.
The stories and images that we have seen of the Jewish partisans this evening give us dramatic examples of resistance during the Holocaust. It is important to remember that there are millions of acts of Gevurah, or heroism, every day, ordinary people doing whatever they could to help each other survive and keep their humanity during circumstances we can barely imagine. And so tonight, the Gevurah is not about physical strength, but rather about one's ability to bestow chesed, kindness, upon the world. It is about spirit, about using strength to do good and overcoming our own impulses. These attributes and actions are crucial to becoming a gibor, the Hebrew word for hero, which is the root of the word Gevurah. And today, as together we weather a global pandemic and are called upon to speak out against anti-Semitism, racism, and oppression throughout the world, we must find the Gevurah within each of us. It is now my pleasure to once again to introduce Cantor Shira Ginsburg with the Song of Renewal, Hashivenu.
Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, V'nashuva,
It is always JPEF's tradition to close each program with the Hymn of the Jewish Partisans, written in Yiddish by poet Hirsch Glick. Glick fought in the Vilna Ghetto uprising in 1942 and escaped as the ghetto was being liquidated in 1943. He was eventually captured and sent to a concentration camp in Estonia, where he was never heard from again. Here is a montage of Zog Nit Kein Mol featuring a group of Jewish partisans singing at my Bubby's 90th birthday party, and several school groups from around the world singing in Yiddish, Hebrew, and English. I hope that you'll join in afterwards for Hatikva and sing along with the 8th grade Jewish Studies class from the Metropolitan Seattle Jewish Day School.
Sag dem Himmel, als du gehst im letzten Weg, hast ihm den Kleinen verstehen heute. Kleinen wird noch unterwegs gemängte Schau. Es wird ableuten und der Traut mir seinen Dorf. Kleinen wird noch unterwegs gemängte Schau. Es wird ableuten und der Traut mir seinen Dorf.
That there is only death for you, though leaden skies may be concealing days of blue, and because the hour we have hunger for is near, beneath our tread the earth shall tremble, we are here. Because the hour we have hunger for is near, beneath our tread the earth shall tremble, we are here. So became the last to gaze and listen back, cause him the lion of the stand.
Thank you, Shira, for your beautiful singing, and thank you to all the students. This has been such a wonderful and moving evening. Thank you all for being here. A very special thank you to Sarah and Charles Bedzo, Alex Folkman, Judith Ginsburg, Rose Holm, Faye Schulman, and Ted Weinstone, and to their families for making this event so very special. I hope that each of you will visit JPEF's website and our Jewish Partisan Community website to read their full biographies. I would like to thank the members of the JPEF board and our staff for their tremendous work and dedication, and our many generous supporters without whom we would not be able to bring the inspiration of the Jewish Partisans to the world. Thank you again for joining us tonight. And in the spirit of the Jewish Partisans, please remember to help make our world a kinder and safer place for all humanity. Good night.